And I'm sure there's folks who are connecting to the live stream. Imagine maybe we haven't started that yet.
Yeah, Franco. Yeah.
Amazing, we're live. So welcome to all of you who are joining us here on Discord, as well as those who are seeing us on YouTube and or catching the replay later. This has been a lot of fun to put together a little presentation for you all. Almond, is there anything we need to share with folks here before? I think what I'll probably do is share my screen and walk through the slides and point out some of the tools that are available.
Sure, of course. So, quick introduction for again, thank you so much for joining us. We're very excited about this workshop because Dani and I and the team, we were talking that a lot of projects ask us to promote their projects in order to get more funds. And although we don't really have a dedicated team to promote projects, we really want to support project owners for you to get more funds, to be more successful with your project. So Dani, that has more than 5 years of experience onboarding and helping projects to pimp their projects, basically, is here to guide us through the do's and don'ts and tips and tricks for you project owners to be more successful, to connect better with your donors, and yeah, with the final goal to raise more funds. So thank you, Anna and Antonio and all the friends that are here. So I think that that's it from my end. If you have questions, Franco and myself are going to be answering in the chat, and I will just give the microphone to Dani so she can start.
Great. Well, just to introduce myself for those who don't know, I've actually been working with Giveth since 20, end of 2017, maybe 2018, back when it was the version that is now known as Giveth Trace, also being sunset now. But my first job was to onboard some projects into our beta testing group. Um, and since that time, I've had my hands on helping a lot of projects get listed on Giveth, and some of them are a lot more successful than others. So over that time, I've had the opportunity to really follow the progress of these projects and to see which ones are really successful and to notice what are the patterns, what are the things that those who are having a lot of success with their project are doing. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. That's this button and this window. Great.
Yay.
All right. Does this work if I hit slideshow and fill it up? Are you all able to see that and everything's still flowing nicely?
Yeah, I can see perfectly.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're familiar with pimping things out and pimping out our projects is the next thing we're going to do here. And I want to be really clear. Uh, I know that sex sells, but pimping your project does not mean using sex, selling sex. We're not here to prostitute ourselves or to beat anybody up. There's a lot of definitions out there of what pimp is. So just to address any possible trigger effects here, we're using the definition that says to make better, to fix something up, to pimp it out by adding a little bling, if you will. All right. But the most important thing we want to do here is have fun. So I'm starting with just this little slide here. Giveth has been working really hard. We've added a beautiful team of people who have been collecting a lot of the do's and don'ts and the tips and tricks. We've been drafting and producing a lot of tutorials and documentation to help people create their project and uh, understand what you can and can't do in order to be verified, for example. And I'm going to click on this link right here to share with you. There's a great Notion document. What I'm not here to do for you today is to actually walk you through all of these resources. They're right here on this page. You can go into this Notion. Maybe Almond, you can put the link to this in the chat.
Sure.
This The workshop here, the intention is to make your project stand out. And I'll go over tips and tricks, ways that you can attract more donors and engage your community. But like I said, we've produced a ton of material for you, project owners. You can view the video that is here and other ones that are available on the YouTube. Um, there are some do's and don'ts that you can go through that are down here. The things I just want to remind for anybody who's new is that Giveth is a platform, right? It's a platform where you can easily support projects that you care about and create projects to receive funding from your global audience that help you achieve your project's goal. So Giveth is here to provide tools, but we're not here to do marketing. We don't have a promotional department. The best we can do right now is help you make your project better. We can reward your donors with various tokens. We can hold workshops like this and meet the maker roundtables. So many different resources are available here. I don't think I need to use your time now to go through all of these things, but there's lots and lots of resources available. One thing I do want to point out is we're a decentralized community, right? So that's you guys. We have a list of our own tutorials and documents that Giveth provides, and we've started a list of different podcasts and media friends that are out there. So while Giveth is the platform, what I really want to encourage you to do is look around to see who's talking about the same things that are in alignment with your project, who's producing podcasts, who's sharing stories of other people doing good in the world. And when you find those, remember that you're a resource for the rest of this Giveth community. So you can add other resources and places. If you find some place that's talking about a project, whether it's like yours or someone else's, share this information with each other because we're all here to help each other be successful with our project. The ultimate change that we want to see in the world takes all of us and all of the projects that we're working on. So, hopping back to our presentation. What is the first thing that every good story needs? I'm going to go through it this first time and not wait for answers, but prepare yourself because there's more questions and I may ask you what you think is the answer. But I'm going to tell you what the answer is to this. The very first thing that every good story needs is the storyteller. The storyteller is the artist that's painting the picture, right? We see something, a change we're going to create in the world. We have this vision. The artist needs to paint in those details that inspires the reader of your story or the viewer of your painting to want to take on a part in this adventure, right? The storyteller is the person who's deeply connected to what's happening here, can see it, and can use their words to actually paint this vision in a way that people see themselves in it. So here at Giveth, the storyteller is your project's champion. And I'm starting here because this is the number one thing that can help your project succeed or not achieve its goals, is having a champion who is the person that's telling this story. Your project description is the introduction to a great story. And that story isn't written yet. The story is a choose your own adventure book. And what the readers see and feel when they see that introduction to your project is going to influence the outcome because it's going to determine if they even keep on reading, right? So you're going to paint a picture of this vision that you see, and it actually takes pictures. This is the second part of this. Your storyteller needs to use a lot of tools in order to paint this story. What we don't want to use is a whole bunch of words. So there's a crafting that needs to take place with this tale. And an image is going to tell your reader so much more. A good picture that actually shows people doing work in a place, a nice good caption header underneath that, maybe a link to somewhere you can find more images and pictures. This is what actually creates the connection between the story that you are telling to people and their interest and desire to actually see themselves in that picture. So in that introduction, remember, this is your first opportunity. This is the back of the book. This is the jacket on the inside that you're getting that interest in it. So you're connecting your audience with that set and setting that you're creating. Think about where the story takes place. How does it feel to actually be in that picture or in that picture? Your project description is setting the stage, and you're creating a space in that where a person who's reading can feel that there's something calling to them. This is something that they care about, right? All right, what else does the story need? What does every really good story have? A missing slide. I was playing with effects here. Gonna have to bear with me for a moment. What else does the story need? A villain. All right. So, what is the villain in the story? It's the protagonist, right? Or the problem. So, when you're writing a project description, and oh, what's your problem? What's your solution? We're actually wanting to create a story that connects people to what's happening. So, you have this vision of what the world wants to be, what it is that you're creating together. And there's something that has that's in the way, right? So this is your problem, but what we really want to do is personalize this problem. You want to help the reader relate not only to the situation itself, but the reality is when you're looking at your project, what I want you to think about is that the problem you're solving with your project is usually a symptom. It's a symptom of an underlying need for systemic change. And so the villains, the protagonist of a story, they show up to help us see something, to see the change that we want to be a part of creating. So, what I'm really going to invite you to do here as you're thinking about telling your story is to wonder, how do you see yourself as having contributed to the problem? And there's lots and lots of movies and things to draw from. I went with a little image here of lots of the villains that we're familiar with. But when you're telling the story, what I want to encourage you to think about is there is a situation in the world and it's been created by all of us. Taking some sort of responsibility yourself to what is happening in this, that's the second way you're going to help the reader actually relate to the project that you're offering. So if you can demonstrate some sort of vulnerability, some sort of responsibility for what's happening in the world, you're actually modeling that for the people that are reading your story and seeing your project. And you're helping other people look at that and think to themselves, have I contributed to this in some way? Because then you're showing them that we're all responsible for providing the solution. And then third, who or what is your story's hero? Now, of course, the hero is you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you, because it's all of us, right? The hero of the story. We want everybody to be the hero. We want everyone to feel like they are a part of having created this change. So the people that are taking action, those who are actually making the change, what we want to see outside, we want to see inside, right? So telling about the people who are in your story, those who are taking the action, maybe those who are benefiting from it or those who are working on the project. The most successful projects that I'm seeing out there are the projects where there is a value being placed on the work that's being done in change. I'm going to pause and let that sink in for a moment because whatever it is that you're producing for your project, your ultimate goal is change. There's a new product you may be creating, a new system that addresses something, but all of those things that we're creating, they're really just tools to affect change. So put that in the hands of your reader. You want to invite the person who's reading to be a hero of the story. Now, the hero doesn't go it alone, right? You've got your sidekicks, your supporting cast, your munchkins, the stage hands, the special effects wizards. As you're crafting your project, you're also getting clear on what you need in order to build your tool, in order to create your change. So really think about who and what is needed in this story and think about what, so show the reader how they're in the story and don't forget the flying monkeys. What are the flying monkeys? The flying monkeys are the things that are coming at you, right? You're just going on down the yellow brick road. You're really excited. Oz is right there in the front of you. You got your buddies alongside of you, courage, brains, and all of a sudden, boom, you got the flying monkeys coming in. These are things you don't know are coming, but as you're writing your story, you want to be prepared and you want to show the person who's reading your story that you are prepared. You know there's going to be challenges to creating this change, and you've got your cast. You've got a group of people that are here, or you need to build that group of people. So, in order for everyone to do their part, you need to stop and introduce the characters just a little bit. This might be your budget. This might be what is it that I need to money for to pay the people that are doing this good work, right? It might be because you need to find the people who have it. So the next thing you're going to do is introduce the characters of your story. Who has already done what, right? In order to get to where you are, how can you give credit, recognize contributions of people who have done something already? But then the next part is what are the skills and resources that are needed for your journey? We're going on a journey, right? So this is where we got our plot. The journey is the road from where we are now to where we see ourselves and looking out for obstacles that need collective power to overcome. Okay. So we're inviting people to help us go on this journey together. The journey is to the goal, the vision that you're painting that needs the whole cast to play their part in order to bring it to life. So establishing that vision up front and that goal is one thing. Then you know what it is that you need to get there. But in order to bring it to life, you need to define the mission. What is it? How are we actually going to get to that goal? So this is where you're going to create a map. Maybe your map is just a list of deliverables. Um, maybe it's milestones. Maybe it's checkpoints. We're going to do this much of the project first, and then we're going to pause. We're going to learn something. We're going to restore ourselves and check in to see what things that we've learned. When you set up your mission with these points for pausing along the way, this is where you get to ask questions, gather your feedback, make sure that your vision is clear. Maybe there's an area that needs some more details. This is also where you get to stop and check in with your villain. Check and see what is the what is the problem at this stage? Is it still look like it did? Maybe the problem itself is something that just needs to be transformed because really the villain is a good guy who just had something happen, right? We're in a world where something has happened and it's created situations where we haven't behaved the way is producing outcomes that we want. So defining your mission means creating this map of how you're going to get there, and the map has stops along the way. This is another really key point that I want to pause on, because often we throw out there the big goal, which is great. We have our goal. But first we're going to get to here, and then we're going to get to here. This gives you the opportunity to maintain engagement and keep your reader interested and engaged in your story, because you're writing it with them as you go along. So how does the storyteller connect the readers to the project? You want to align them with that goal and keep the conversation alive throughout the journey. So with Giveth, the way you do that is with your project updates. You've set your introduction, you've invited people into the story, you're gathering some funds, you're getting resources, you've made your way to one of your milestones. Now, this is where you need to tell the next story, write the next chapter. Each of these episodes is going to have your call to action. It's going to tell people what you've done so far with what you received. It's going to tell them what you learned along the way and help the people who are reading this and contributing to the project continue to be excited, right? Continue to come back and see, how did that work out? What is it that's happening next? And then the other part is, in each of those updates, you want to put in your call to action. So what is the thing that you need? What flying monkey came in, and how do you need help putting your straw man back together again? um, whether it's overcoming a challenge or whether it's just celebrating. We achieved a great milestone. Come check this out. We did what we said we're going to do. Come along with us. Let's go into the next chapter, right? So these are the things I want to remind are the key things. You want to say what it is you're going to do in the next chapter, and you're going to ask questions that invite the people that are looking at your project how they can be a part of that. And some of those questions you could ask are, what are the different possible outcomes that can come in the next chapter? Because what people contribute in response to your request is really going to determine what you're able to do next in many cases. So you'd love to get to having your beta version of something launched, but the reality is you might only be able to build out a couple of modules and test those. So as you do each of your updates, I want to invite you to consider, what are the variety of different possible outcomes that are available to you? And then you can say, this is in our great world that we know is possible as far as we can get. If we only get this far, that's okay. This is, with this much, we'll be able to do this. And then you may actually want to have a third bottom level that says, in order for this story to keep on going, we need to hit this level. So this might be a lot that I'm putting out in just a couple sentences here, but it's really important. You want to say what can be done in the next chapter and how the person who's reading it can influence that. Let them see those potential outcomes and contribute to helping get to the one that brings this change in its perfect timing. So say what you will do and then do it. Now, I didn't put this on this slide, but the other thing that I really want to say here is, don't just do it. Have somebody with a phone take some pictures. Take the moment to celebrate what you've accomplished somewhere and bring people together and get a picture of it. Do a little video, a little demonstration. You've said what you're going to do. Now show your work. Do the work and get somebody to just stop for a moment and get those pictures, get those videos, because they tell what? They can tell the whole story with just a simple image or video that shows you actually did what you said you would do. And this is really important, because doing it might be that you just learned something new along the way that you didn't see. It might mean that you found a new challenge or have different options that presented themselves. So what you want to do here is acknowledge fully whether you actually did what you said you would do. What is the gap? between what you said you will do and what you actually did. This is kind of like a recap. In our last episode, we talked about this and we planned on doing this and we got these resources. And then this happened. Here's what we actually learned. Now we've added a new milestone or we've cleared a path to make something easier. So you're going to say what you did, you're going to do it, and then repeat. This is the process you're going to keep doing to continue writing this story, because it's not just create the project, write the story, raise the money, boom, done. I have maybe that works sometimes. I haven't seen it happen that way very often. So this is a little recipe that I have to share with you all in order to not only attract folks to your story, but to engage them and to keep them interested and contributing. I didn't say on here how important it can be as you introduce those characters, tell how people might get in touch with them. Maybe there's somebody who has another resource or a way to play with the story that you haven't thought about. So make sure you're opening up a channel in some way of communication so that those who read your book cover, maybe they're like, maybe I want to buy this book. I'm not sure yet. I have questions. How can they connect with you? And ask those questions. That's where you want your storyteller, your project champion, to be the person who's there, able to receive those people, be excited that they're interested, and create an open channel of two-way communication so you can keep on going. Okay, those are my slides. That's as far as I went here on this, and I'm going to exit full screen and come back so I can see you guys. Awesome. And I'd love to hear any questions that you guys have. Let's take a pause here and see what you might have. Is there anything that I can go deeper into from these slides, or maybe show some examples?
Yeah, Danny.
Hello?
Oh, Marcus, yes.
I'm curious about how to make local projects interesting for people who don't live here. So, for instance, because with less funds, it's harder to do something that will have a global reach, or something that is easily measurable. So to do that, it's a lot easier at a local level. And I've noticed that there are projects that are clearly local and they are getting funding, and I'm wondering how that's accomplished, or do you think it's because they're being funded by people that are in that community? Thank you.
Thank you for this question. This is a great thing that we can go into just a little bit, because there is a lot of understanding in the world right now that in order for us to create the change we need in the world itself, we have to focus on local places. That's why I touched on where is your project taking place, because what we're doing in a particular locale, either it's replicable or perhaps it's work that's happening in a part of the world that needs that change the most, if that makes sense. So looking at your locale itself, what are the features of where your project is happening? Is there a reason that you can connect people to that contributing to this here in this particular location has a global benefit? Local action, global effect. Like remembering this mantra, because this is really a large statement in the world, and it's very well understood that in order to create the changes we want to see in the world, we need people in different places doing these actions and being able to share that story with the world. So the first side of that is, what is it about where you are that is unique and special, that doing this work there, that people in the world could see helping that solution there will have a greater impact. One of the other things I've heard a bit recently is the solutions to our first world problems, if you will, are going to come from our third worlds. Now I'm putting those into parentheses because you can number worlds in whatever way you want. But the reality is, a lot of the problems that are coming from civilization in our larger society can be solved by focusing in our rural, more localized actions. So capitalize on that. Capitalize on these movements that recognize in order to have a global change, you want to find something local. The other piece I'll say about this is remember that a huge part of your global audience is sitting in a box somewhere. And they don't want to be in a box. They don't, many of us are plugging away on our computer in a room, in an apartment, in a house, in a suburb, in a city, and we're dreaming of being in the jungle or being somewhere that actually feels like I can do something. So helping people who are in their own their own box right now recognize that they can be a part of something and move towards other options in the world. It actually helps people open up the possibilities that are available to them in their own lives, and that would come from connecting to your project. So just remember your audience is people that might actually be looking for what you're doing in your locality as well. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. I'm a whole bunch of questions, but I don't want to. I don't want to take over the meeting here. So thank you very much.
And
Sure.
also,
Well,
sorry, just a quick comment. I just paste the link of Danny's presentation so you can check it out. It's in the chat, so you can review, you can share, and yeah, you can comment on whatever you like to discuss further. Sorry, Danny, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
no. If folks, if you're not really ready to turn on your face and your mic, feel free to type something in. I know they're monitoring the chat as well. And I believe it's possible for people on YouTube to also be able to ask questions.
Yes.
I'm super happy if we've got plenty of time here to go into some of the other details.
Yeah. I have a
And also we can go into it more after this.
I have a question from YouTube, Danny. I have someone that says, to piggyback that question, entering our project on the site, are donors only able to donate through Giveth and have to be on board with Giveth? I have a project posted over a month that hasn't received anything. That's the question. I don't know. Like, yes, right?
Yeah. So this is where I would say, jump into that Notion document and take a look at some of those tips and tricks around the technicalities of getting your project more visible. One of the things is that simply listing your project on Giveth doesn't do a darn thing if you haven't shared your link widely. So once you've created your story and you've told it, you got to get it on a shelf somewhere. You've got to get it where people who are looking for this are going to know about your project. Another thing that really helps the success of some of these projects at the beginning is make a list. Make a list of some of the organizations, the networks, Facebook groups, places that people are getting together to talk about the problem you're solving, and put your link out there. Get your project out there where people are actually going to see it. That's not something, I mean, Giveth can do it a little here and there where, speak up in the channels, of course, and let people know that you need support. Like I said, this is decentralized, so reach out to other people and ask them. Ask them to share your project. Ask them if they know anybody that you could contact and ask about it. Once you get a few people to make some donations, the other thing is get likes. Maybe folks aren't able to contribute right now, but if your project is listed on Giveth, you want to ask all of your friends, go to Giveth. All you got to do is sign in on an account and click a heart, and that helps me at a basic level. But the reality is you need to get your book on the shelf, and you need to get it in the section of the library that people who want to read about it are going to find it. So there's some due diligence. This is another one of those do your own research type answers that I would give you, where you need to find out who else cares about this and get them to look at your book.
And just to add to that question, I would like to share a story that it just happened with the project that I did on Giveth. Maybe this can be helpful. I know that some of the people here know this case because I actually ask for support to people here in order to be my project. So basically, I opened a project at Giveth to get funds to buy a new computer for my dad. He's studying token engineering academy courses. So for him, his computer is really old, and he was not able to install Discord and talk with other communities around the world that are also studying token engineering. So I just opened this Giveth project, and I would say that in less than 12 hours, I was able to raise $500 that I needed to buy my dad a new computer. And it was basically because I did this step-by-step that Dani presented today, in which I opened a project in which I added a nice images with me and my dad, just to try to share to donors and the people out there that it was like a real project. And then the next thing is that I reach out my closest friends that are in the crypto sphere and that know how to use crypto, and share the project with them, asking to donate or to just help me share with more people to amplify the message. That's something that Sohovit that's here made, that I'm really thankful. Other like Anna, she actually donated. And then it's not because we're shilling Giveth, but it's really a really easy platform to donate through, because you can just donate using all the ERC20 tokens from mainnet or XDAI from Gnosis chain. So it's like really, really easy to go and just donate whatever you can to support. And then the other thing is that I just got creative with the way I did this storytelling. I recorded a TikTok video, just really dynamic and quick, in which I was telling this story and recording myself, and then just adding some pieces of my dad and the problem and so on, just to get more engagement with the people that saw the project. And basically that's it. I did not posted a project related to social impact. I'm it. This was just a fixed price that I needed to get a computer, so maybe it was easier. The strategy that I used was different from a project that may have a more evergreen campaign, always open, and not just like a quick goal to achieve. But I would say that what I've seen a lot of times is this lack of creativity, and I think that Dani just gave us a lot of cues for us to just like put a villain there and put a hero there, and then just get creative with the way that we tell our story and make a video, or maybe make a piece of art, or just be there and have fun, not be afraid to lose, to be funny, to be less serious, let's say. I think that that's really valuable. I don't know if Dani wants to add something.
I did have something occur to me while you were speaking, and thank you so much for sharing that example. Because so two things came up for me, and the first one is that Giveth, yes, our mission is to have this platform, to have these projects, and also to help people participate in the crypto economic systems. So think also to yourself, this is a great way to help people who have been interested or curious about crypto experiment and learn together in a way that creates positive impact. And then to further that, I would say, if you're asking people to give to your project, have you given to any projects yet? So if you find something that you actually care about on there, make a small donation yourself. and then talk about that. Say, I funded a project on Giveth. I gave to this. And that way you're actually asking people to do something you've done yourself. And it's very powerful. And I don't have to go into the power of the gift too much here with you guys, I don't think. But the act of giving to something else first actually starts a flow for things to be able to come back to you as well. Let's see, where are we at? We've still got a nice 20 minutes of time here together. I'd love to be able to answer some more questions for anyone that has them.
Yeah, I think that most of the projects of the people here have already a project at Giveth, and some other people here does not have a project. It's just like starting, just idealizing or like figuring out the way to start their projects. What would be the best way for the people that does not have a project yet to start? How can they maybe the step one to put more on the ground all the info that you mentioned already, meaning
Mm-hmm.
that of course creating an account, but then what would you recommend to like the step two?
Mm-hmm. So the first thing is, if you're going to write a book, don't start it in a little web window on an application. As awesome as Giveth is, open up another document for yourself and start compiling the information about your story. Write it up. Um, figure out the pieces that you need to tell. What is it that you're solving? What is it that you're asking for? And then ask for a review. Ask somebody who has a project to take a look at what you're proposing and give you some of that feedback. And then the other thing I want to say again is that doing your research. Search for other projects that are like yours. See how other people have been framing a similar challenge that they're solving. Um, search on your social media platforms for the terms around your project. These visions that we're all having, these projects that we're creating, they exist up here. And each of us sees it and is approaching it from the direction of where we are. But the greatest thing you could do is to actually get collaboration and support around your project before you even launch it, to find out who else is working in similar fields and similar areas, not just to learn from how they've done it, but potentially to build a collaboration and share, hey, I'm addressing this solution from a slightly different angle. Here's the project I'm about to launch. Would you be willing to share it or review it first with me and feel good about it so that you would be willing to share it? So that's kind of the first thought that I have is, as you write up what it is that you're going to produce, look for buy-in, look for other people that can review it, give you feedback, and then endorse it when you do launch it.
And then I know that Marcus have a question. I have another question more regarding challenges and how to face those challenges, but Marcus, go ahead.
Okay, so thank you. I'm running multiple projects at the same time. Some of them are global and some of them are local. And my question is, should I aim like it when I create the project on Giveth? Should I aim high and global right away, or is it better just to aim with something smaller and local first? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. It depends is the first answer. So then let's talk about what it depends on. When we're working in the crypto sphere, the first tendency is to think globally. So I would invite you to explore how can you align that project with a global issue, a global concern. One of the easy ways to do that is to just take a look at like the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, for example. What is a big goal in the world that what you're working on can align with? so that people will feel connected to. So if there is a way to have a global demonstration or a global connection, I would always go there because crypto is global. And the channels that we're using to receive that is one of the beautiful things about funding and Giveth is that you can be anyone, anywhere, and peer-to-peer support the actions that you want to see in the world. So my first invitation is global. And then if you really don't see a global connection to the action that you're taking at that local level, then finding the support in the local area. Maybe the purpose of having the project on Giveth is to tell the story. That's one of the really beautiful things about Giveth. People come to me and tell me about really wonderful little projects that they're doing and ask for support. And my response is always put it on Giveth because I want to track my impact. I want to support these various projects. I can do that in a lot of different ways. Giveth allows me to actually show a portfolio of all of the things that I've supported and also gives those people who are creating those projects a way to say, look what I did. So even if it's just local and maybe it doesn't, you're not even sure how this maps to something else, remember we're creating a track record of social impact through these projects. So even having it on there, asking someone who's making a donation to do it in this way allows us to be able to measure in the future the progress we've made towards these goals. I hope that helps.
Sorry, I have another question. Well, one comment from Nats that said, Nats have for, by the way, Nats, if you want to paste your project here in the chat, Nats and Joanna have a great project at Giveth called Crypto Murals, in which they're trying to make graffiti a public good, supporting artists and making tours, graffiti tours. So I think it's great. And she's saying, doing a personal donation really helped me to tell people how to support not only my project, but also shows a wise use of crypto and find amazing projects, which, yeah, I agree, is very important to use the platform and to really see how easy it is. And then Maye has a question that says, I wonder, in your expertise, what's best, to start with the drama and the problem present, or with the vision and the good, and the good things that can happen? Meaning, a lot of times I see marketing focusing first on the climate change and animals getting extinct. So what would you recommend, problem or like the positive impact first?
I relate to that a lot. It's very common to see these videos that are raising money start with the damaged earth, the war ravaged situation. Personally, from my expertise, I want to paint the picture I want to live in first. And then I want to say what's keeping us from that and how can we move through it together.
Yeah,
That's
I agree. And then I see that maybe one of the first challenges for a lot of people, and specifically for people that's here, that we are Spanish speakers, we sometimes face these language barrier in which the social impact Web3 cryptosphere is more in English, and for us may be harder to make our project stand out. What would you recommend for projects that do not speak English as their first language to use Giveth and to have success? You're muted, Danny.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm here in Costa Rica and I'm talking English. um, this is something that is really important. The locale, the place that you're in, the language that's spoken there, being able to write things in both languages has really been helpful for us in helping the projects that we're doing in the local community connect to the Spanish speaking community. I've seen a few of our projects write, a nice, concise statement first in English and in Spanish, it can, depending what you're writing, it could be very challenging to do everything you're saying in both English and Spanish. One of the projects I work with, they write it in English, but at the very top it says see updates for Spanish version. And they take what they wrote in their project update and they put it in Spanish as the first update to their project. Again, also the establishing communication channels. I know Giveth has a Spanish speaking channel in here now to provide that support. Several of the projects that I work with here, I'm able to refer them now to someone we have at Giveth that speaks Spanish and can help them. The reality is coding and crypto and technology has aligned with English as the primary language. And what it's going to take is groups of people in these in a different language creating a support system for themselves. Again, I'll come back to the decentralized nature of this. Some of us who are on this call are working for Giveth, or like me, used to work for Giveth. But the reality is it's the community of all of you and connecting with the people that you relate with and can actually speak with is the advice I would have for that.
Thank you. And also for me that I'm a Spanish speaker as well, I actually in my social media I try to always write everything in Spanish, meaning I just try to put in my own words the support that I'm looking for through Giveth or related to Giveth, just to not lose the essence. So even though this might mean that I might lose some people in the way that are not Spanish speakers, for me it's really important to try to own the essence and the message to feel more real to the people that reads my tweets or jump into my Instagram. And then, for example, as you mentioned, Danny, the project that I wrote at Giveth, yeah, it was in English, but I think that you can perfectly have both, just like English and Spanish. As Giveth projects are more into blog post format, so you can just order information where however you feel it would be best. So I think that yeah, it's just like don't be afraid of writing Spanish or Portuguese or whatever language, right?
I just want to praise you for doing that, Almond. I take your tweets that you write in Spanish and I share them to some of the Spanish speaking project owners that we have because you often give pointers to places that they can pursue that information in Spanish. Thank you.
No, thank you. And I will really invite people if they have a couple of more questions. We have 7 minutes left. If not, I have one more question, and just I would love to mention to everyone that if you have questions about like how could you start your projects, you can reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help. And we have different ways that we can make and give more eyes to your projects. But for me, I would love to ask one of the things that project owners ask you for help more. Like, what would you say one is one of the main challenges that project owners face when opening a project and start receiving donations in crypto, which is very different as like a fundraising fiat platform. So what would be the first challenge, and how say we can outcome that?
Okay, I want to restate what I think I heard. That one of the great challenges new project owners may experience is when they are also relatively new to crypto, how to actually access those funds and use them in support of their project. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. It can be that they are really don't know how to use the fiat. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is the onboarding and the offboarding in the crypto space has been one of the greatest challenges. I know also there's the reality that a donation can come into your project at a certain amount. And if you don't know what to do with crypto and you leave it sitting in there, I have a lot of projects that went from $1,000 to $10 with that donation, depending on the timing and what's happening in the market and what token was being donated. So I'm going to give the very first piece of advice, which is convert your donations to a stable coin, so that you know you got what you got. Once you're in a stable coin, it is much easier to start looking at how you can turn that crypto into cash or whatever is needed to pay the people. So the other part of it is, what are the things that you're paying for on your project? Have you asked them if they can receive crypto or what that would take for them to receive crypto? Because if you as a project are receiving crypto donations and then you're having to pay your people in cash, not only is there the risk that I'm suggesting you mitigate by stable coining your contributions, but also there's the potential of all of the transaction fees that happen in moving it from where you received it to a centralized exchange, and being able to move it from that centralized exchange into funds that can go into a bank. A lot of the projects we work with, you may not have a bank account that's linked to a central exchange to make that easy for yourself. There are other options that are available to you to seek, as you're doing this and you're going to receive crypto, who do you know that does want crypto? There's always the possibility that you can give that crypto to someone who it wants to have crypto anyways, and that they could maybe turn that into a fiat for you or some other kind of circular economic exchange. But it is a challenge. I mean, obviously, we prefer that crypto stays crypto and we don't have to sell it for fiat. But to perform our projects, we have to reward people with something that they can use for their living and their livelihood.
Right. I agree. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And also, we have different guides to help project owners to figure out what's the best way to sell or convert their crypto to a stable coin or to fiat. As Danny was mentioning, we have just guides for everything already made. Um, just shoot with all the questions that you have on Discord, and we have the answers for you. Pepart says, I'd love to know if we can ask for a private meeting. Danny, I feel it's not enough time to explain our situation. Before letting Danny answer that question, I will invite everyone to also use the Discord channels that we have. As we are always 24/7 answering all the questions and support. So please also feel free and confident that you can use our Discord channels and that someone's going to support you. And now, Danny, go ahead.
Great. So I just threw a little comment in so you can see who I am, and feel free to connect with me in Discord. On Twitter, I am at the Office Mystic. I guess with this last minute, what I should probably do is share that there are 3 different projects that I work with that are on Giveth, and one of them is called a Revillaging Mutual Mentorship Program. This is where I mentor people in a lot of these different aspects, and it's how you could support me if you wanted to do that and arrange some time. I don't charge for my time, but I sure do love to see support come in for these for these projects on Giveth. And I invite you to check out that or the project we have here in Costa Rica, which is the Diamante Bridge Collective, rewarding people on the ground for doing this work while they actually learn crypto and learn about Giveth. There are quite a few people who are now working for Giveth that went through the mentorship program with me here in Costa Rica, and it is my great joy and privilege to be of service and help you all be successful. So please do reach out to me.
Yay! Thank you so much, Dani. This was really, really great. I appreciate your time and every time to come here and check out Giveth and just be part of the community. Again, the Notion with the resources that we thought that were good for this goal of the session is in the chat. And thank you, Maye, Nicolas, Ojo, Cheo, Anna, Antonio, for coming, and all the friends. Love to see you around, and praise you, Dani, for this. Thank you so much, you all.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you all for hearing my story, and may you have great success with writing your own.
Yay! Bye bye.